The Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has inaugurated a 10-man committee to review government projects and contracts from the year 2017 to 2019. Now, the period covers the last 2 years of former Governor Abiola Ajimobi's 8-year tenure. The committee, headed by the state chairman, Nigerian Society of Engineers, Damola Fatila, was inaugurated at the Executive Council chambers of the Governor's office, Ibadan, on Monday. Now, in the same vein, the Oyo State Governor, Damola Abiodun, has also inaugurated a committee to review the contracts and projects executed by the immediate past Governor Ibikunle Amosun. While inaugurating the committee headed by the President of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Adekunle Mokolu, in his office in Okimosan, Abeokuta, Abiodun said his government inherited many contracts and projects scattered across the state. Now, this seems to be a big coincidence of sorts. And hey, these are Southwest governors. Joining me once again, I still have in the studio Dotun Hassan, legal practitioner and President Yoruba Council of Youth Worldwide. So it's a beautiful coincidence. Two Southwest governors and two similar things, but which is not necessarily alien to us. We always hear governors who come into office, you know, initiating probes or inquiries into monies that are missing, etc., etc. We ditto for so many governors. But the question is, what have these probes yielded at the end of the day? Most people would say these are just witch hunts, and some other people will say it's just to establish some form of power. I don't know. What's your take on this?
Well, it's about showing fist. It's about exploiting the political divisive tendencies before election. Then whoever gets the cup looks at the other person, that considering every other things that we're able to maybe during those conflicting period, they look out, if this feast is as huge as this, what am I going to do to weaken the other structure? Don't allow this other person get so close to me when it comes to contest. So it has no it somehow is a good step, but in the wrong direction. Good step in the wrong direction, because as an executive, you don't even have the power of prosecution to enjoining that same administrative, when you prosecute and then at the end of the day pass judgment on your own. That makes you, in law, we have what we call nemo judice in casaswa, and all the author and patem. Those are the two principles of fair hearing.
What do they mean in English?
Oh, that's it. No, you must hear both sides of the case, and you cannot be a judge in your own cause. So, and this is presumably to challenge this power corrupt and absolute power corrupt syndrome that mostly bedeviled our dealings in governance in order to create an equitable, fair environment for all of us to express our views. So, but in this respect, it is more or less a premeditated agenda. You cannot constitute a committee. Whatever their committee is going to come up with must surely be negative, because it's from the day one you are probing. Even if you have the best interests of the state and you put in the best hands to... So, majorly, what they should do is not the government probing the outgone government. It is for a separate, if our governance structure is well institutionalized, that's one thing. We look at the individualistic approach to our government, or maybe you look at who's that name that want to go in with that power. They don't want to separate their name and their seat from each other. So you just want to appoint somebody, and so I'm still the one. It's still Abiodun probing Amosun, it's still Makinde probing Ajimobi. So these issues will be a recurrent decimal. It has always been a bane, because it will lead to distraction.
But does this ever happen if, take for example, the predecessor is the same party?
No,
is there always a need to do so?
Like Abiodun now, his predecessor is of the same party.
Yes, but
no,
maybe there was
divided at the tail end of handing over. But
so if there was no bad blood and you're of the same party,
the party that is handing over is the same party, APC. Amosun did not leave the APC. He only endorsed
exactly
party.
my point. So if there were not, if there wasn't any bad blood,
that is to show our height of deceit. That is to show our height of non-Nigerians to spirit of sportsmanship. So that is also to show how chronic we can be as African to fighting each other, just like a woman, maybe in a polygamy, just like a more concentrated, more local polygamy, whereby you just see everything of different side as enemy. But one key thing is that this thing exposed the present government from also being, definitely they are not properly guided. They don't even use that as a yardstick to measure their own stay in power. But one key thing is that it has not in any way had any positive value
or impact.
No impact at all, because it is just a means of feathering their weight on the opposition, on the outgoing government. But at the end of the day, that's where we now come to fail. Well, listen, that's where we now come to fail, because if that person that you are probing or you are pursuing today eventually give room for a more bigger largesse, you begin to stop that probe, or you now embrace each other, you are now back into our fold. The same person that is probing, the hunter who is already hunting, will take the same fowl and they'll be judging.
Let's take a look at the governor who now ran for Senate, and recently took some guns and arms and ammunition to declare to the police. Should that not also be part of this probe, being that a civilian has no right whatsoever to stockpile arms and ammunition? That's on the one hand. The issue of governors probing, you have also said something about governors not probing because they have interest in it. Sometime in December of 2018, when Justice Walter Onnoghen was still the Chief Justice of the nation, there was a report that said that the CJN should be the one probing these corrupt governors. Apparently, the CJN is empowered by the ICPC Act, that's the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Commissions Act, to raise an independent counsel to probe allegations against the president, the vice president, governors, and their deputy governors. So can these governors bring up these issues, but then lay it at the table of the CJN? That way, it can be as independent as we hope for it to be.
Well, that is the law. But in as much as just as I said, even the people at the ends of power are politically literate. That's one of our syndromes. We don't even actually want to even learn. We presume to know all. And that's why if every government were to be going through this horde of, once you are outgoing, even in a normal business environment, once you are handing over to a new management and all, there is what we call audit report. There is an auditor who comes in, look at your profile, not the person you presume to know. There is an independent auditor. So who is going to serve as an auditor here? Now the CJN. Now how much more is that office dealing firstly with its own judicial issues? That is an issue. We don't ask for, you cannot give what you don't have, even if you have even if you are empowered.
Are you alleging that the judiciary is somewhat corrupt, and a corrupt man cannot be trying to probe a corrupt?
No.
So what are you saying? What issues are you talking about?
The issue is that maybe the way our democracy is wired, we are yet to really understand the chemistry of what really best suits us. The judiciary is a large expert of area, not just judges. Now if you talk about judiciary, you're not just referring to judges. The whole gamut of the law, administrative justice system, that's what judiciary entails. So in dealing with that, have been issued as what we call sumoto. A Supreme Court judge is empowered to look into any issue and raise a legal opinion, and also raise a means of prosecuting that matter on his own. If you feel on his own you can raise a matter, prosecute, call whoever that you have to call. The judiciary has that power in our constitution without even going to the ICPC to be empowered to do that. Definitely, how much has the ICPC been doing for those that are in power? The only semblance that is close to probing is the Code of Conduct Bureau. And the Code of Conduct Bureau, as far as I see, is more or less another same of the same. Nothing good has been coming out of Code of Conduct Bureau. So there is a need for a total review of what best suits. Lagos is a...
How do you review... I mean, I totally agree with you. I'm not trying to trash what you have said, but if we already have a law that is working, because, you know, we keep querying the law every time now and then, but if the law says this is what it should be, have we tried to keep to those laws first?
No, we're not saying...
Again...
That's why we are calling their attention to it, that it is not the duty of Mr. Governor of a particular state to weigh on himself another responsibility of probing. It should be the office of the CJ head constituting an independent inquiry team, which white paper, whatever findings, will go directly to the agency that is to prosecute. If it is a economic crime, the agency goes. If it is the issue of gun and all that, goes to the police for fire, for arm running, for gun running, and all other laws that might have been violated in that regard. So there are agencies that deals with particular offenses. So that nothing stops the CJN exercising the same power and stopping the anomalies that we have now begin to see as our culture. Governors coming in and looking for something to call a dog a bad name and begin to throw something at each other. At the end of the day, when the governors start probing, the party members, any person on the street will now go on the media and counter the governor. So this at the end of the day, the kettle will come to call the pot black, because the beautiful ones are not yet born. Even the person that is probing, immediately is coming into power, he already has some other lieutenants whose interests are not on the same page. Some of them are just looking for means of empowering their pockets. Okay,
let's go to something that Nuhu Ribadu, former EFCC boss, had to say about probing governors, corrupt governors. Now, he had said that governors are often subject of corruption probes, you know, because they control a large chunk of resources and exercise power in their states. Now, he says, you're in charge of our government. You control our resources, including that of local government. Now, he also reminded governors that there was no way, as governors, they could escape probing, adding that probes could come from any persons they anoint. It can be anybody. Or any group of persons. He also said that once you leave office, because I want to take you to what the Constitution says, the day you leave office, there will be checks. The person you install may be the one to come and check you. So you should know that. He was trying to say that governors are not above the law. But there's a section in the Constitution that says, I think it was section 308 of the 1999 Constitution, that confers immunity on governors, but they can be investigated and prosecuted right after their tenure. Hence the questions of people, what is happening to the governor who gave arms to the police? Nobody's heard the last of it. Recently, in fact, that story must have died. Recently, the Commissioner of Police in the States came out again to say the cartridges are not complete. It looks like it had been opened, it had been used. So somebody needs to be answering these questions, but it looks like nobody's interested. So how do we deliver good governance if issues such as this are not pursued in the best interest of us, the followers?
You know, the best way to also approve that visual harm is the National Security Advisor's Office. Because if they were to be more capable and having that capacity to dealing, you know, sometimes we're always good to this nepotistic appointment have really soiled our hands in dealing with just straightforward issue. You begin to see clusters of unnecessary issues around it. So one key thing is that as far as we have raised it, the governors, the senate, whatever, as far as you are a politician, either from the executive or the legislative, you are subject to come back for audit. Once there is no room for that, it gives room for unnecessary embarrassment and all these kind of things that we are seeing.
So going forward, we don't have time. Going forward, how do we deal with this issue?
As far as we are concerned, as far as the Yoruba Council is concerned, we've always been looking at all these issues that we need to be proactive. There is a need for us to rejig our laws. There is a need for us to have a proper, separate laws.
Rejigging the law takes a lot of time.
No.
The laws that are on ground, why are we not even?
No.
Why are we not adhering to the laws that are already on ground? The simplest of them all.
The laws that are on ground, yes, we have good laws. We have the administrative, the ACG.
But these politicians are still disobeying the law. So whether you rejig it or not, is that the immediate solution to the problem?
There is a need for willpower. There is a need for a reorientation of our mindset. There's a need for a change of how we deal with ourselves, our sensual views of our humanity. Who do you see as the next person before you? What kind of person do you interpret the person to be? Are you reading the person from the ethnic view, or you are reading the person from a nationalist view? So it's from the nationalist view. Once we key into a nationalist view of reasoning, definitely every other thing will come into place. So there is a need from the government angle to ensure, because who ought to probe is the State Assembly. Why do we have them? State Assembly. So the State Assembly has that right to probe even the outgoing governor or the governor that they met on ground, because their own duty is to always check and balance
I wish we could continue with this conversation, because there are people who tell you that state assemblies have become rubber stamps, so who's going to probe who? But I want to say thank you to you, Mr. Dosun Hassan, for speaking with us on the show. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well, we'll take a short break and play you our plus packages, and when we return, I'll be giving you my take. Stay with us. The family of slain Precious Owolabi, who died during a fight between members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria and the Nigerian police force in Abuja, have called for an investigation into claims that there were no doctors to treat the fatally wounded Precious at the Garki Hospital in Abuja before his death. The father of the deceased, while receiving Vice President Yemi Oshibajo, who visited to sympathize with the family on behalf of the federal government, wants an inquiry into the allegations, saying maybe his son would have survived the gunshot wound. Precious Owolabi was a serving National Youth Corps member attached to a Nigerian television, but met his untimely death while covering the violent Shiite protests.
Last Monday was a very sad day for the NYC family, and for the Vice President to come on behalf of the President to see the family is an indication that the federal government cares for the NYC. And the welfare of the NYC is quite paramount to the federal government. We appreciate it, and I can assure you what has happened also, we'll learn lessons from it. And the core members we see here are very proud of the federal government. For the President to come to this as an indication that Precious Owolabi is a hero, because he died in service to our country. There are other lessons to learn in terms of safety and so on. So this will also take into cognizance when we meet our co-employers in our future subsequent workshop.
People read all things and saw the video that they saw the boy sitting down, holding his tummy, bleeding, and yet the doctor to do the surgery was nowhere to be found. What action has the Gariki Hospital taken against this man, the doctor that was not around? Even though if the doctor was around, the boy could still, it's possible the boy could still die. Yeah. But at least we know that there's somebody on ground that was supposed to attend to him, and has attended to him, he has done his job. And but as God will have it there. So that's.
Well, it's time for my take. The Vice President, speaking on behalf of the Presidency, obviously asked, talking about the fact that, you know, there's countries in Africa that had been divided and still their problems did not go away. Who's talking about division here? We're talking about insecurity. We're talking about an issue that is more like becoming a hydra-headed monster that needs to be dealt with. We need to cut off that head so that another doesn't grow or just destroy it totally, you know. But instead, the presidency and their responses are not necessarily addressing the issue. Like I always say, we don't need talk right now, Mr. President or Mr. Vice President or security chiefs. We need action. Deal with the issues. The Afenifere spokesperson has said, why are you talking about a division when you're supposed to deal with the issues that are causing us to have some form of division? Nobody wants to break up the country. We're asking that you deal with the issues that are facing us. Deal with them. That way we do not have, you know, divisions. There will be no room for divisions if you deal with issues as a when you, instead of playing the ostrich. That is all we're asking for, Mr. President and Mr. Vice President. It's simple. Moving on to probing of previous or past governors by their predecessors. It's not necessarily alien to us, is it? It's something that's being done, but the question is how much of it actually, you know, is seen to a completion. Does anything come out of these probes, or it's just a power show of sorts? Maybe if we, the people, begin to get interested and ask questions and become more politically aware of how our leaders are leading us, maybe that way these probes would make meaning and we will make sure that we see to a conclusion, and those who have looted or done the wrong things will be made to face the law. My name is Maryann. It's been Plus Politics. Have a great day.